Good day to you. Last semester, I had a student apply for an internship at Camelback Mountain, and she got an interview. She went to it, she was really excited, and about halfway through the interview, the person says to her, "Why did you tell your boss last summer that you were sick when you were really at the beach?" She went into shock. Guess how he knew? Yeah, he looked at her Facebook page. So, what actually caused her to post something on a Facebook page that would be potentially harmful like this in the future? Well, the reality is she wasn't thinking like that at all. She was posting this status on Facebook because she was getting some kind of use out of it and some kind of gratification out of it. And that's what today's chapter is all about. It's about uses and gratifications of social media. It's probably the easiest chapter to understand in the book, and it's the one that probably you will feel the greatest expert at yourself. As we go through the material today, I'm sure that you will have many more insights than the book or I have, because we are very much always analyzing why people are using social media, trying to understand why they put the things on it that they do. So that's what we're talking about here today in Chapter 6 on uses and benefits, as the chapter calls it, but also its uses and gratifications of social media. They're interchangeable. So let's talk about the self first, because the self is at the core of what we do on social media. And essentially what we're doing on social media over time is we are doing a lot of things to stabilize the self, or at least to attempt to stabilize ourselves. That means make us feel that we are in harmony, that we are satisfied, that we are not a problem, we're not abnormal, we're not weird, we're not strange. All those things, we're building a self. We're building a self, we're maintaining ourself, we're trying to improve ourself, and certain dimensions of ourself we're seeking to perform on social media. So one of the theories that comes to play here is called social comparison theory. And this is the idea that we use social media because we want to see how we're doing in life. We want to be confirmed. We want to be reaffirmed. We want to see that we look as much like other people as we want to. We want to see that we act like other people. We basically want to know we're all right. That's what social comparison theory is all about. That's what draws some people to look at social media and see what people are doing. Some people right now probably are feeling inadequate because they haven't yet played Pokemon Go, for example. It's a craze that's sweeping the country in an otherwise summer that's filled with a lot of strange incidents, at least on the national scene. But Pokemon Go has broken through, and it's a game where you download an app, and I don't know a lot about it, but you go out and find Pokemon characters out in the real world, and they're in certain locations, and the software tracks your GPS of your phone and finds where you are and tells you if there's, I don't know a lot about it, but Pokemon Go, a lot of you are feeling, geez, I haven't tried that yet. There's something wrong with me. I know it's going on. I know a lot of people are playing it. I don't know anything about it. I really need to figure out. Well, that's what social comparison theory is getting at. In this case, you're looking at yourself and you're saying, I'm not quite complete yet. I don't know Pokemon Go. Now, another reason, moving on now to the reasons that people use social media, is for performance. People like to perform. I have several people on my Facebook who are performers. They're musicians, they're dancers, they do something in the arts, and they want to show people what they're doing. It's a natural outlet. I mean, if you want to perform in public, then you certainly want to perform in other avenues too, including social media. The book refers to this, though, as putting on a mask, as if you're acting. I'm saying that essentially when you go on social media, you're not being your true self, which is not necessarily bad, but you're being this alternate self that you're seeking to present in public. And although the book talks a little bit later about this, I think the selfie is a perfect example of that. I have dozens of friends on Facebook that are posting selfies all the time. I myself post some selfies. And the selfies that I often see that puzzle me the most are where people are smiling, but the smile to me seems fake. Because when you go to do a selfie, most people are looking at the image of themselves in the camera, and their eyes are not looking at the sensor on the camera that picks up the glance. So most selfies never really look like you're looking the person who's viewing the selfie in the eye, because your eyes are slightly off looking at the camera. And that to me seems like a fake pose. Also, the smile is something that everybody does in a selfie, and several people I know, they're conceivably posting a selfie about a place that they're at. They're traveling across the United States, and they posted a photo from a rest stop, but almost always in their selfie, they're front and center. They have to be, because you only have arm's length unless you have a selfie stick. And it's like, if you look at the photo, the proportion is of the person versus the background with the roadside attraction on the trip. The person is like 50% of the photo or 60%. They have the presence in the photo. And that's always a little puzzling to me, because that's sort of a way of performing on social media that's sort of introducing the idea that you want to show your audience, your followers, where you are, but really what you want to show them is yourself. And you want to show them being happy, even though you may not be happy. In America, we're expected to smile whenever a photo is taken. We think it makes us look better, and we think that people want to see us as being happy all the time. But let's face it, not everybody's happy all the time. So there's a certain artificial quality to it that I'm sort of editorializing on here. Another reason, moving on now, that we use social media is to extend ourselves. It's sort of the reverse of Marshall McLuhan's idea that we talked about earlier, where we use social media as antenna to go outside of ourselves and bring parts of the world to us, like Britain, France, outer space, wherever, through news reports, through tweet feeds, through things people are saying. It's sort of the opposite idea of that, and instead says that we're taking ourselves and we're extending it beyond our interpersonal, in-person circles, the people that we see every day in our life, and instead we're taking ourselves and we're putting it onto whatever social media we're using, and we're getting people who, in many cases, haven't even met us to react to us, to look at us. That's what that is all about, extending the self. And then there is the idea that people use social media for self-disclosure. The idea that in this world where the connections are so tenuous, meaning you can have a relationship and suddenly it can go away, because there are in many ways so many other relationships you can strike up with other people. Because of that, a lot of people feel lonely, and they don't have others to talk to, at least not in a deep sense. And so they turn, this theory says, to social media to disclose things about themselves, like my student did, saying that she was not really at work. She was at the beach. She wanted to be funny at one level. She also maybe had something about her that wanted to say that she was a little bit of a badass. She also wanted to maybe check in with other people who have done the same kind of thing. There's a lot of reasons for that, but she self-disclosed it. Why did she need to do that? And by the way, she was an excellent student, so I'm not meaning at all to say that what she did was wrong. It's just a really good example of what can happen on social media. Next up is that people use social media because they can be anonymous. And unfortunately, anonymity often leads to a kind of content that people put on social media that is aggressive, and in its very worst sense can be bullying. It's attacking people. I see feeds from some of my friends on Facebook that if they feel that they've been wrong, they go on a rant on Facebook, and they talk about, I'm going to delete all my friends, or you're not going to get away with the SHIT that you're talking about me. And it's a puzzling use of Facebook for me to see that, but I don't know the situation, and perhaps that is the only way, because of other factors, that people are out to express their discontent with others. But when you're anonymous, it's easier to be more aggressive, because there is not the authorship that is associated with the content that would lead you to have to be accountable for answering why you're so aggressive. It's just easier to be aggressive. And that's why we have a big problem with cyberbullying. One of the worst things to happen to bullying, which was always bad on the playground and in the locker room, now it can be done through social media anonymously. And it causes a lot of people to say, I'm giving up social media. I don't want to be treated like this. And it causes a lot of people to have fears of even looking at their Twitter account, their Facebook, their Tumblr, whatever, in case they're going to see something where somebody is, in their perception, coming after them. Next up on social media is the idea that some people use it for establishing intimacy. They are shy, perhaps. They are perhaps very self-conscious about the way they look or their body, or perhaps the way that they present themselves. Maybe they're not happy with the way that their voice sounds, or maybe they're not happy with the way that they seize up when they talk to others. But when you get on social media, it frees you up because you can control it. The video that you're seeing today is my second take. The first one I didn't like, and something I'm able to control on social media. And people do this. They want to be able to control how they're coming across. It makes them feel more comfortable. They are then able to provide more information about themselves because they feel more comfortable. They won't feel criticized. And so they develop an intimacy that they wouldn't otherwise get in real life. Another reason that people use social media, another gratification that they get out of it, is communitas. Communitas is a term that the chapter uses to describe about the feeling of belonging to a group. And human beings are animals that need to be in groups. We don't survive when we're alone. That's one of the reasons that jail is the ultimate penalty. It's depriving you from being with other people most of the time when you're in your cell. And that's the idea behind this uses and gratifications of social media, that we like to feel like we're in groups. It makes us feel safe, makes us feel popular, helps us decide whether we're doing what everybody else is doing. And so when you join a group on Facebook, or when you join in with a bunch of replies or responses or comments that other people are making to somebody else's post, and you become one of the collection of opinions, there's a certain gratification you get from that. Even though it's a virtual group, you're not standing around really meeting, shaking hands, and looking people in the eyes when you disagree with them, it still is a kind of group. Another reason that we use social media is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is we look for social media to prove what we already believe. You can see this a lot with politics right now. People who like Donald Trump are going on social media to post things showing that Hillary Clinton broke the law with putting her emails from the State Department on private servers. Similarly, people who like Hillary Clinton are going online looking for information to find that Donald Trump is sexist against women. So there's a reason that people seek these kinds of confirmations, and that is because they're looking to further legitimize their own beliefs. That they are, not for everybody, but they are, I wouldn't say doubting their beliefs consciously, but at least on the inside there is some kind of little doubt, and so they want to have the feeling that, yes, they were justified in feeling this way about Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or anybody else. It's a confirmation bias. Yet another reason that people use social media is for therapy. There is a lot of data that's being compiled on from research that's being done into the idea that shy people use social media to help them overcome that shyness. And I have to say, here at the university, I have seen a sea change in this idea from when I first started here to the students that are coming in now. And I find a lot of students have a lot of anxiety about speaking in public, in front of others. And I have to believe, as many other professors at the university do, that social media has a big part of this, because people who are constantly on their cell phones looking down, they're not gaining the skills at looking people in the eye and speaking with people. They're wrapped up in this tiny little screen, and their thoughts are between this and this thing that's 3 inches away from them, even though the end user is somebody that's in virtual space. They're not learning how to overcome awkwardness in public. And there's a lot of awkwardness when you meet somebody for the first time and they're very different from you. They look different, they sound different, they've come from a different background, they have a different major. It's tough to figure out what to say. It's tough to say something where you don't feel silly or stupid. Nobody wants to feel like that. And social media, therefore, provides a kind of therapy for where you can test out ideas and you can express yourself in ways that won't necessarily come back to you directly. Yet another reason for using social media is to play. Human beings like to play. We like to play games. We like to go on and do gaming. We like to play card games. And so people use handheld devices. If you go on an airplane ride, you'll see that probably half the people on the airplane are playing some kind of card game or some other kind of video game to help pass the time rather than sleeping, reading books, talking to others. We like to play. And social media has opened that up. My son, he's up almost every night way too late. I won't even mention what time he's up, and I'm trying to control it. This is my wife, but he is completely enthralled with gaming. And he's got the headphones on, he's got this mute button, and he's got 2 screens, and he's got this backlit keyboard, and he's got his headset on. I think I already said that. And he's talking to people constantly while he's shooting whatever he's shooting, strategizing, and they're playing as a team, and they're in a tournament. People love to play. The internet plus cell phones plus computers have opened up gameplay to so many people, including many people, I'm sure, in this class. My final concept that I want to cover today for why people use social media is because it's addicting. which is to say that they almost don't have a choice in using social media. That if they don't have their phone, already they're feeling anxiety because they're missing texts, because they're not responding to texts, because people don't know where they are, and because just holding something like that is security. It's not all that different in some ways. You may think this is strange from a pacifier that, babies, some mothers and fathers raise their babies with pacifiers so that they feel comforted by putting something in their mouth and having an oral fixation. It makes them feel that they're locked onto something that they can control, among other things. And it's a similar idea for a handheld device, holding that phone. I'm sure that many of you today will be walking around and suddenly your pants will feel lighter. Your pockets will feel empty because the phone's not. Where is it? And already you're going through this kind of... So it encourages an addiction, encourages us to always be on. We always know where our phone is when we're always on that phone. And if we have this additional need to constantly be presenting ourselves to others, then it's another power of addiction. And if we also have a need to sort of spy on others, that's not the best word. Lurk is a better word. Be a voyeur, if that's what you want to say. You don't want to be the person commenting, but you want to know what others are doing so that you can think to yourself some analysis of why they're doing it, not necessarily to share it, but it's something that drives you when you wake up in the morning to pick up the phone first thing before you drink water, before you take a shower. It drives you to, even though you know that the teacher says no cell phones in the class, it drives you to sneak that peek below your desk, send that quick text message, like something on Facebook, tweet something out. There's an addictive quality. And truth be told, some people feel very, very happy when they're forced to be cut off from their cell phones because the battery has died, or because they left it at home, or because there's no service. And that's kind of why West Virginia, to come back to my trip there, it's an interesting concept to me. They're developing a big green space in the mountains where the attraction is going to be, come to West Virginia where you will be off the grid. Nobody will know where you are, you will have complete privacy, and you don't have to be hung up with an addiction to social media. Interesting concept. I hope you have a great day.